Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week 9 edition of the Cover 4 podcast for this Wednesday near mid morning as we do this Zoom broadcast of our uh, podcast. And Randy Gibson and I, we can't believe that 2 weeks away from the start of high school football playoffs. But big things were happening this weekend. Couple of big homecomings. First of them right here in Tahlequah, as the Redmen registered a 48 to nothing win over Lincoln out of California. Uh, Notes on this one: first time that the Redmen have registered a shutout in 13 years. That's number one. Number two, it was the 100th homecoming at Northeastern. So instead of a usual 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., 10 a.m. Parade, 2 p.m. kickoff, well, the parade was at 2 and the game was at 6. Excuse me, as a little different. And homecoming game at night. After the game, they had a drone show
I saw
there.
that.
So
That was
pulling
pretty
out a
good.
few different things for the homecoming, and it worked out pretty good. A win, uh, a drone show, and now this week, as the Redmen hop on the bus and they head to Maryville and take on one of the kingpins of Division Two, the Bearcats in Northwest Missouri. And we'll see if Darren Cheverini can keep the offense going. They've averaged uh, 50 points a ball game, over 500 yards of total offense last three ball games. So looks like the offense is clicking right now.
Yeah, it's been kind of surprising, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a slow start. Well, they've lost three games in the fourth quarter. One of them being the UCO game last week. Uh, they uh, played in the Walmart volunteer outing last Monday at Pinnacle in Rogers, and was lucky enough. One of my playing partners, uh, Nathan Jowers, he was the side judge in that game against UCO. He's from Farmington, works in the MIAA, and also calls high school over in Arkansas. So we got to talk a little bit about the ball game, a little bit about Darren. So he's a real nice guy. He, you know, starting to turn the corner with the football program, and they are showing some signs that they're going to be better. And which they lost to UCO 64-57, got the win Saturday night against Lincoln of California, Northwest Missouri on the horizon. And we'll find out if we can keep things rolling against a team that perennially in the top 10 and could be looking at the Division II playoffs here pretty soon.
Yeah, that would be good. I had a little bit of extracurricular activity from what I saw at the NSU game as well.
I didn't see that much of it, so um, I was busy watching other ball games. I heard about the Michigan State brouhaha that they had, but
Oh, I didn't
nothing.
even see that one. I would.
That was they had a brouhaha at the end of the ball game,
Hmm.
and, which it was not in East Lansing. It was at the Big House. So with that single tunnel that they've got, similar to
like
what
the Cotton
happens
Bowl.
at the Cotton Bowl, except it's not in the end zone. The tunnel's at the 50-yard line. And
Yeah,
the last one that had that tunnel at the 50-yard line, they took care of that a number of years ago, was Tennessee. Tennessee's used to be that way at Neyland Stadium. So, but the other wild one was at Skelly Stadium.
yeah, that was a
TU
great.
was down 35-7 at the half and came back and beat UTSA 46-45. Kevin Wilson scores 22 points in the fourth quarter. That included a 2-point convert to give them the win. One of the biggest wins, as far as a comeback is concerned for
Yeah,
T. And they head to Birmingham, Alabama to Legion Field, and they take on the Blazers of UAB. That is a 1:30 kickoff. That will be a ESPN Plus game on Saturday, so you'll have to watch that on the internet. And so TU, if they could run the table, they could get bowl eligible.
hmm
But I don't know if that will happen or not. But they've that was a big, big, big win, especially with it being homecoming at TU. And
that was quite exciting for them.
yes, yes, it
It really
was.
was.
Well, about the Sooners, first half looked pretty good, and then second half looked like same song, 20th verse.
Yeah, first half was surprising. They actually were making some plays and getting a couple of touchdowns and went into the half with the lead. Um, but hopefully they're starting to figure some stuff out. At this point, I'm glad they've got Maine this week.
Yes,
Maybe
yeah,
they can kind of pull some offensive stunts together. Um, I was surprised the defense. I guess they played okay, but they weren't quite up to what they had been going either, and I don't know what's going on there. Uh,
mm.
kind of
We
interesting.
phase two. They were facing Jackson Dart, so he was.
Yeah.
I'll get to see him Saturday. I got lucky about 2:30 and got called. I'm going to get to do official stats for Arkansas and Ole Miss Saturday
hmm
in Fayetteville. 11 o'clock kick,
Um,
ESPN, and
I was going
get
to
to
talk
work
about that.
with
Going back
Mark
to that
Jones around.
Oklahoma game, I think one of the most exciting things of the day was the squirrel that scored the touchdown.
Yes, I did
That was kind
see
of fun
that
to
when he
watch.
was about the 20. They were about ready to try to catch him, and then he says, "Oh no, you don't!" And he runs in, and the the fans there at Vaught Hemingway gave him a big cheer as he crossed the goal line.
I saw that. That was cute. That was cute. I hope Oklahoma can figure out their offensive struggles and woes at this point in the season. I think Brent B and his team need to pull some stuff together and figure out what they're going to do moving forward and just try to get through this season at this point and try to start looking at next year and
Yeah,
spring and everything. And thing that's going to really that Missouri game is going to be very, very important because that's going to be a key, kind of like that South Carolina game was. It was a total debacle.
yeah,
But if they can manage to get by Missouri, they'd be bowl eligible, which at this point, it's not so much about the bowl game, but about those extra practices,
correct. Yeah,
you know? And
and
they're just really going to need that. And they're really going to have to, he's going to have to pick uh, an offensive coaching staff that's really going to come in and his new OC might just have to clean house
yeah.
pretty good. I'm,
Uh,
I'm sorry. But
they go to Faroe Field next week. You've been there,
yep,
but they have done a lot of changes since the
that
last
place,
time you marched up there.
that place was always going back to the 70s and 80s. It was always a tough place to play. no matter
Yes.
how good Oklahoma was, they always had trouble with Missouri. I still remember the in the 70s, the Joe Washington comeback, you know, in Missouri, and then him having to go for two
Yep.
to win the game. And
Mm-hmm.
it was that way in the 80s. We just always hated to go to Columbia
Mm-hmm.
on those years we had to go because it was just such a tough place to play. I doubt that's changed.
It hadn't, and like I say, you'll see next week whenever they decide which network they're going to be on. You'll see the improvements they have done to Faroe Field, and
Hmm. Good.
so
They
it's
needed some.
it needed it very, very much so.
Of course, I
Then
hadn't seen it since the mid 80s, so
yeah, so then the Killer Two, you know, the final home game against
two.
Bama,
Uh,
and then
and then going to,
probably a Louisiana Saturday night
I would
at Tiger
imagine,
Stadium.
yeah, finish out the season. So the last two games don't look good. They don't look promising at all at this.
Well, one thing I can say for Toby Rowland, gets to Tiger Stadium, uh, he won't have any problem seeing what yard line it is because Tiger Stadium is, I think, the only place that they still mark it every 5 yards.
That's right, they do, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And LSU, for the second time, they came out against A&M all white like they did against Arkansas,
Mm-hmm.
including the helmets.
Mm-hmm. That was interesting.
Yeah. But I think you'll see the traditional yellow helmet, yellow and gold, I mean, yellow and purple helmet the rest of the way there because they're 1-1. They beat Arkansas, but then lost to A&M down at College Station. So speaking about a team that's on a skid, Oklahoma State,
Mm.
they got beat 38-28 at Baylor on their homecoming down in Waco. And now that string of making it to a bowl game for OSU is in danger because they're now 3-5.
Mm. They really got
And
to step it up.
they've got Arizona State this weekend. Uh, that is 6 o'clock kickoff, FS1 doing the ball game from Boone Pickens, and needing to right the ship, and everything is, the wheels have fell off
Yeah, they really have.
offensively for Oklahoma State.
They sure have. Them and Oklahoma both. I mean,
Yeah, both
really
teams.
just having a tough time with their offenses this year.
And it's kind of odd because you thought that OSU would be really good offensively with Ollie Gordon and them, but it just hadn't clicked this year.
Not at all. I'm really surprised because I kind of thought it'd be them and Utah running in the Big 12, kind of maybe with a Kansas State thrown in there. I never would have thought it would have been BYU and Iowa State.
Yeah. And BYU, Utah coming up
Week from Saturday.
week
Yeah,
from Saturday at Bryce Eccles.
got a uh 5 week. BYU's got a couple of weeks to prepare for the Utes, and Utes have been on a skid as well.
Mm-hmm. So be interesting if uh, Big Noon or uh, Game Day goes out there this
It
week.
will. I almost suspect maybe Big Noon would go up there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh
Very.
it's a big game for the Big 12 because BYU's sitting at 8-0
Yeah.
right now, and which is a surprise. Some people didn't even think they would get past 4 or 5 games, and to
Yeah.
have them sitting on top of the Big 12 right now is kind of a shock for everybody here in Provo.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting, but it's still a
Yep.
shock.
They're if they get by Utah next week, I think I would be reserving a plane to DFW
Yeah,
and heading to Jerry's World for the Big 12 championship game.
you would have to assume they're going to get by Kansas. If they get by Utah, you would have to assume Kansas would be a
Hmm.
win. Um, Houston,
They won on a last second field goal.
yeah, you would assume Houston would be a win. And then going to Arizona State, I'll tell you what the folks around here are saying, though. They keep waiting. They're just like, I'm waiting for BYU to pull the typical BYU and start falling apart at the end of the season. So, but
Hmm.
I've heard that for the last three games.
Yeah.
Is this going to be the game that they blow it? Is this going to be the game that they blow it? And thought it was going to be OSU, but they had that miraculous comeback uh,
Hmm.
about a minute left or whatever. And
Yep.
so we'll see. There's some high hopes going into Salt Lake next
Well,
Saturday.
let's put it this way: they get by Salt Lake. You're talking about BYU could be go all the way back to some crazy quarterback by the name of Jim McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
Way back when,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean,
Way
now
back in
you're
the early
there would
days.
be envisions of uh, that for BYU fans.
Yep. Yep. Because it's looking, number nine in the country. They're looking at if they went out, that they're definitely going to go to the Big 12 championship game, and they're looking at playoff.
And the thing is, okay, if they could get to 8, they would host a first round game in the playoffs.
Uh-huh.
Now think about that one.
That would be fun.
January, either end of December, early January in Provo.
Oh, that would be fun.
Uh, you might be volunteering going down the hill there from your house to Lavelle Edwards to shovel snow out of the stands.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah, that would be fun. I can guarantee you there would be a huge blue wave crowd,
Oh
whoever
yeah,
they
oh yeah.
which,
It'd
by the
be
way,
similar to what they do at Buffalo,
hmm
Green Bay. Be something like that.
got a funny thing for you. Some of the football boards, Orlando, folks in Orlando and UCF, they were wondering what the heck happened because their stadium was taken over by blue completely last weekend. And there were people, the UCF fans were saying, I had no idea BYU traveled so well,
Yeah, yeah.
that many people would come. But funny thing is, what they don't understand is BYU being a church school, a worldwide church school, they're just like Notre Dame. They've got fans all over the world. So
Oh yeah.
no
And I'll
matter
see
where you
that.
play, they're going to have a lot of blue.
Yeah, I'll see that next year at Arkansas because Notre Dame plays Arkansas,
Well,
and
I saw that in
they're
Norman too, and there was a
blue and
bunch of
gold.
green and gold.
Yep, yep. And see, they've still got to figure out when they're going to play the game in South Bend because see, they were supposed to play first up there, but guess what? It was in 2020, so we didn't get to play that one.
Hmm
Speaking about the Hogs, they got the win on Saturday in Stark Vegas, 58-25 over Mississippi State, and now they get to face that other team from Mississippi. They get Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss coming in to Razorback Stadium, 11 o'clock game on ESPN. Mark Jones and Roddy Jones are going to have the call of that game. Uh, I get the nice little 6 o'clock wake up call to drive over to Fayetteville and do official stats for the first time this year.
That's awesome. You're gonna
So
get you're gonna get to
I'm
have a Sunday.
keeping my fingers crossed that I get the game in 2 weeks. is Arkansas will have an off week next week before they play Texas. So
Yeah, I hope you get that one too. It'll be fun to.
uh, we'll find out. Uh, I've got a list of basketball games that they released early this week, uh, and I've got 18, counting the game I did the other night. Did the Arkansas KU exhibition game. We'll touch about that here in a sec. But I've got 18 basketball games in Fayetteville. That's not only men, but women as well.
Wow.
And then four in Tulsa. And there's one day where, well, I've already had to turn back one game because Tulsa and Arkansas are playing at the same time. But I look at February the 8th, I could go to Tulsa, do Florida Atlantic and TU at 11 o'clock in the morning at the rental center. Go up, hit 244 to 44, and then 412 to West Siloam Springs, come back down 59 to Westville, and then go on over to Fayetteville. And at 7 o'clock, Arkansas plays Alabama. So I could do two ball games that day, but that's in February. And that can be pulled off very easily. And I've already told my girl in Bristol that I could drive. If I leave Tulsa by 2 o'clock, I can get to Fayetteville before. So I'll be there in plenty of time to get there. So talk a little bit about that basketball game Friday night, the exhibition game between Arkansas and Kansas. And let me tell you right now, they sold the place out. It was a fundraiser for the children's hospitals in Arkansas and Kansas. And 19,200 fans in there. I mean, it was the Arkansas fans were in midseason form, and that included the trough, the student
Wow.
section. And I walked in and uh, ran into Matt Zimmerman, who's the color analyst for the Razorback Sports Network, and I asked him. I said, "Who's calling the game? Don Daly?" He said, "No, Daly ain't here tonight. Terry Oglesby, uh, Doug Shows, and Vladimir, and he's got a hyphenated last name, and I can't pronounce it. But all three are good officials." But he said, "You know, Oglesby, he's one of Cal's guys." I said, "Okay, all right." So, but they had like I say, big crowd. John Schifrin was doing the play-by-play. Jimmy Dykes was doing the analyst. He was the analyst job, and I was doing talent stats and stage managing. And let me tell you right now, KU scored the first two. That was the only lead KU had. Because
Really?
Arkansas led the rest of the way
Oh, wow.
and beat them 85-69.
Wow.
And that true, Bill did not have two of his good players, one of them being Dickerson, the big 7-2 guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Jonas Adu, who transferred from Tennessee to Arkansas, he didn't suit up. He's has a nagging injury just like Dickerson does. So he might play Friday night in Fort Worth against TCU. Don't know, but uh, the this big 7-2 kid that was at Kentucky last year, where they had trouble getting him eligible, he was he didn't get to play like the first 16, 18 ball games, and he is scary. I
Mm.
mean, he can run the floor, he can rebound, he blocked the shot and put it into the front row. And then here's the other thing: he can go outside, he can shoot the three. He hit two
Ooh.
threes in the game. So watch out. Arkansas might be pretty darn good. First game that they'll be on TV will be the 22nd of next month, and they take on uh, UA Little Rock, UALR. So it'll be interesting. Uh, got some real good ball games. The first conference game is against Ole Miss. The women is going to be my first conference game, and it will be Kim Mulkey coming to town, LSU, on the 2nd of January
Mm-hmm.
into the basketball palace of Mid America. Unfortunately, the OU women's game will not be on, but I will get to see the OU Arkansas game. That is slated for Saturday, the 25th of January at Bud Walton. That is a 7:30 tip. Uh, Network to be determined, but the game time is already set. So you can mark that down on your calendar. And when is the women's game? Let's look. Might be one of those things. Randy Gibson might want to make a feeble excuse and come home because that's the easiest ticket to get into Bud Walton Arena is the women.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that game is February 23rd. It's a Sunday at 2 o'clock. So I'll be over there to watch them play Mizzou the night before, but that's going to be an ESPN Plus game. So be one of those things. Pay the $10 and go over and watch one.
Yeah,
Well, high school football final 2 weeks of the season.
already.
Yeah, already. And Tigers took it on the chin. They lost to Dell City 56-0. They're the number 2 team in the state.
Yeah, and you could sure tell it from what I read.
Yeah, they're legit. And Claremore's got them Friday night at Lantow. So they've already said that they need to play almost mistake-free football against these guys. They played them last year in the semis,
Mm-hmm.
and Dell City dusted them, beat them 33-14 in the semifinals. So they're they're legit. Tigers are home for the final two. They get the Rogers Ropers Friday night at Doc Wadley, and an old friend comes back to town. Former Sequoia head coach Brent Scott is the head coach of the Ropers.
Oh,
So
okay.
he'll be there Friday night and then finish the year up against the Hale Rangers. And Hale is 3-5. It's going to boil down to Claremore, Hale, and Tahlequah for the final spot.
Mm.
And it could be you wind up fourth and a date at S.E. Williams against we are Booker T. That would not be good.
No,
So,
not at all.
uh, Sequoia, they are home senior night Friday night. They take on the Westfield Yellow Jackets after defeating the Webster Warriors 62-20 at Milton Stadium in Tulsa. They finish the home season Friday night, and then they will go to Metro Christian, take on the Patriots in the final game of the season next Friday night. Uh, the stadium there at Metro Christian looks a lot different than it did whenever I was broadcasting when Bear was coaching and Cub, Braden Scott, was the quarterback. It was an open air press box. They have redone the press box, and now uh, they have turf. In
Wow.
fact, they
Yeah.
had they put turf down, had to replace it.
Hmm.
Something was wrong with it after the season. That was a couple of seasons ago, and that turf that they had is now laid at Haskell.
Oh, really?
They got the turf that they had. The company repaired whatever it was, and the Haskell Haymakers play on that old field of uh, Metro Christian. So there was just some minor things they had to do. They took out the Metro Patriot logo in the middle and put whatever Haskell wanted to put in there, and they have got a new turf field for all intents and purposes. So, and same way with Tahlequah. Keys is the same way. They play their final two games, and it will be their final two games of the regular season as they are eliminated after losing to Adair 32-14. They get Commerce Friday night out at Jerry Hood Field, and then they face the Wyandotte Bears on senior night next Friday night. So Keys is eliminated, and so is Hulbert. Uh, my alma mater, Warner, defeated them 56-8 last Friday night, and then they go to Rejoice Christian this week, go to Tulsa, and then the Shoto Wildcats come to Ryder Field for the final game of the regular season, and then they'll start bouncing the basketball and wrestling over at
Already
Holbert.
getting time.
Yeah, it is. Believe it or not, it is time. Uh, Basketball upon us. In fact, the schools that do not have football, we're talking OK, Oaktaha, Braggs, they start the season Friday night because you can start November 1. They started practicing. In fact, the girls start practicing October 1.
Oh, wow.
As far as, you know, Tahlequah and all schools, the girls started practice the 1st of August. I mean, not of August, but October. And now it is time for the non football schools to start uh, playing basketball.
Man, it
And
seems like the football season's gone fast
it has.
this
It
year.
has. Let me look at something here. See if they are, see if OK starts. Mm, they don't have their schedule up yet. Let me go to their school website. see if they. I thought they would have the schedule already up on Max Preps, but it wasn't. Athletics. Here we go. Let's see. They will open. Nope, I don't want cross country. I want. We'll get there in a minute. Here we go. Okay, high school basketball. And we'll see their schedule yet. So they're not, they haven't posted their schedule yet. And got another one I can go to. See. Oklahoma would be, see what we can find out from them. Maybe. Yeah, that's the thing. You get these school websites and they don't want to tell you a whole lot. So, but
Not at
I can
all.
say right now that there's a possibility that those three schools could be opening the season Friday night. So, but what about any of the other teams in the Big 12? Colorado got bowl eligible.
Yeah. Iowa State. What do you think about the Big 12 championship? Who do you think is going to be in there? You think the Cougars will make it? I think it'll be them and Iowa State.
I think it'll be BYU. Iowa State could be. K State could be, especially after they won the Sunflower Classic against KU. Um, I don't think Colorado can get there.
No, it was kind of looking like they might have a glimmer of hope for a while, but I don't think they're going to make it.
Yeah. Uh, if it's Iowa State, BYU, uh, Jerry's World will be full
Yeah, it will.
because you got two teams that they travel.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, take a look at what Iowa, what the Hawkeyes do, and it's very similar at Iowa State.
It is.
You've seen, you've seen that at Norman.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
but
It would be kind of interesting to see a BYU Iowa State Big 12 matchup, honestly.
and they hadn't played each other.
No. And it's been for so many years, it was Oklahoma or Texas or, you know, Oklahoma and Texas.
Yeah.
It was just kind of the two of them traded off for the most part for, gosh, over a decade. So,
Yes. It would be good to have some new faces.
yeah, it would. It would make it interesting.
Yeah,
It really
it
would.
really would. So, like I say,
Yeah.
next week,
Oklahoma and Texas are out of the Big 12 now, so I can say that.
yeah, right. Yes. Yeah, there was saw some clips of you know after Texas got beat by Georgia, the Texas guy on Game Time Sidekicks, uh, he said, it's only one loss, and it is. And the OU people were clamoring to get back in the Big 12 and play Baylor.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
true.
there's some of them that would clamor for that.
There are some who have said that. The majorities are still happy we're in the SEC, but there are some who have made those types of statements. Yeah, absolutely.
But when you see the check that OU will get come June 30th,
Mm-hmm.
then you see what the Big 12 teams will get. Uh, it's a big difference. It'll be about a $20 million difference.
Yeah, it's that big difference. And I got to be honest with you, the the games I've been to have both been SEC games in Norman, and the fan experience I think is better. The
They've had to step it up.
They've stepped it up on the OU side, and the visiting fans from Tennessee and South Carolina were both a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They were different than
Mm-hmm.
a visitor from Iowa State or Kansas or
Right.
somewhere like that. They were just different fans. They
Mm-hmm.
were more involved all the way around,
Right.
and
Now,
honestly, friendlier, in my opinion. They were more fun to talk with.
yeah. Now, the 16th, you get Bama coming to town. Uh, I know that Cole Adams got hurt in the game last week for Alabama. I don't know what the status is, if he's uh, going to be able to play this week against LSU. I'll be honest with you. Uh, Try to get to the game notes. Talk about a tough one, and that's at Baton Rouge Saturday night.
Yeah,
That's that's going to be that'll be Fowler and Herb Street will have that game. Uh, don't see. Let's see if I can find something about it. But I know he was carried off the field. Wait a minute. This is their Alabama's off this week. They don't play till next week. That'll be the 9th. It says 10 days on here. So may know something next week on the extent of Cole's injury. But they had to take him off the field after punt return uh, last week in their win. So might have to make a call up to Owasso, talk to Mike and see what the extent of his injury is and see if he'll be ready to go next week. So,
yeah.
well, that's going to be about to do it for this week's edition of the Cover 4 podcast. Next week,
Yeah.
final week of the high school season, we'll kind of try to draw up the playoff picture. And for Sequoia, they've got they've got to win out to
Yeah,
be same way with Tahlequah.
same. I was going to say same with Tahlequah.
Yep. The other two have been eliminated. And like I say, they'll get ready for basketball and all the other sports in the wintertime. That'll do it for this week. And for my partner out in Provo, Randy Gibson, I'm Jim Trickett. We'll talk next week on the Foot Cover 4 podcast.